Did you know that the car you are driving right now might have been manufactured in Morocco, and that the interior components of the plane you take on your next trip were likely made there as well? This is no exaggeration. It is the reality Morocco imposes today. How was Morocco able to achieve all of this so rapidly? Why do manufacturers now choose it over the locations they have long relied upon? And why did others fail where Morocco succeeded? It is a seemingly simple question, yet the answer encapsulates a story of a stunning ascent that has changed the face of the entire region. We will dive behind the scenes of Moroccan factories to discover how the kingdom transformed into a global manufacturing hub. But before we dive in, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Morocco's industrial rise may seem sudden from the outside, but nothing about it occurred by chance. In the late 2000s, the country made a clear break from its past. Rather than waiting for foreign investors to arrive one day or settling for the export of low-value goods, Morocco adopted a proactive industrial strategy with a clear objective: to create the conditions global manufacturers need before their arrival, not after. This transformation began with what became known as the Emergence Plan Emergence, and was later formally established through the National Pact for Industrial Emergence, which focused on building integrated industrial ecosystems. This meant that factories, suppliers, logistics services, and trained human resources would all be situated together in one place, rather than scattered across the country's map. Across Morocco, dedicated industrial zones have been developed with advanced infrastructure, tailored legislation, and direct access to shipping networks. Today, more than 150 industrial zones span an area exceeding 12,000 hectares, hosting approximately 1,000 companies operating in manufacturing, logistics, and technology. The Tangier Free Zone, opened in 1999, was one of the first and most important of these areas. Over time, it has attracted more than 500 companies and investments exceeding $670 million, producing everything from automotive components and aerospace parts to textiles, electronics, and software services just a few kilometers away. Tangier Automotive City opened in 2013, expanding to become an integrated manufacturing ecosystem covering 800 hectares. It houses 150 companies and provides more than 20,000 direct jobs centered around assembly and spare parts manufacturing. What distinguishes these two industrial zones is their extreme proximity to one of Morocco's greatest geographical assets, the Tanger Med Port. This port is currently the largest in Africa, handling nearly 10 million containers annually, which places it among the busiest container ports in the world. More important than size is connectivity. The port is linked by regular shipping lines to more than 180 ports in over 70 countries. While many African ports still suffer from congestion and poor integration, Tanger Med is located less than 3 days at sea from most major European ports. For companies operating within the adjacent free zones, this translates into a practical reality. Goods move directly from the factory onto global trade routes. This is the fundamental difference between an industrial zone that succeeds in attracting manufacturers and one that fails to scale across Africa. Many industrial communities have struggled because their factories were built in inland areas far from ports. For example, in the 2000s, Ethiopia established massive complexes like the Hawassa Industrial Park to serve as manufacturing hubs. However, that area was located about 900 kilometers from the port of Djibouti. This distance eroded the advantage of low labor costs and disrupted just-in-time production for major brands like H&M. This lesson shaped the way Morocco designed its entire industrial map. Instead of concentrating production inland, it kept factories close to ports and export routes. Moving south from Tangier, the Kenitra Free Zone became the next pillar of this strategy. It serves as the industrial belt feeding the assembly lines of Stellantis for the Peugeot and Opel brands, with suppliers producing seats, electronics, and structural components just minutes away from the production line. Near Casablanca, the Mid-Park Zone in Nuisser emerged as a hub for precision industries and aerospace manufacturing, while T2 Park in the north built a specialized ecosystem for light manufacturing and logistics. Together, these zones function as self-contained industrial cities characterized by low operating costs, streamlined regulatory procedures, and duty-free exports. However, the true advantage lies in the integration of the entire system. Training centers sit adjacent to supplier workshops. Storage facilities are located next to customs offices, and highways and railway lines extend directly to the ports for a multinational corporation attempting to assemble vehicles, aircraft components, or wiring harnesses. This infrastructure allows for faster and more cost-effective scaling than is possible in many competing nations. Once these zones proved successful, policy focus shifted toward expanding what worked through incentives, infrastructure, and workforce development through successive industrial acceleration plans. The goal was no longer merely to attract factories, but to ensure their ability to scale efficiently and remain resilient in the long term. To achieve this, Morocco entered into direct partnerships with the industrial sector, offering tax exemptions and building training programs specifically tailored to the needs of each industry. For instance, Renault established a dedicated training center in Tangier to prepare workers for assembly line roles and quality control. Similarly, Safran contributed to the founding of the Institute of Aeronautical Professions (IMA), a specialized school that trains technicians in engine components, composite materials, and aircraft cabins. Boeing has also supported workforce development programs in the aerospace hub through agreements with the Moroccan government. This training was not limited to heavy industry. Technopolis near Rabat was designed as a technology park to attract research and development firms, microelectronics laboratories, and outsourcing operations. Morocco has also invested in applied research through the Mohammed VI Polytechnic University (UM6P), which international media has dubbed Morocco's Silicon Valley. Supported by the OCP Group, this university works directly with international partners in fields the country deems strategic for its growth, such as engineering, data science, renewable energy, agricultural technology, and materials science, alongside human capital development. Industrial acceleration plans have focused heavily on infrastructure. Ports have expanded, and new projects have been launched to increase capacity across the country. For instance, the Nador West Med project on the Mediterranean coast is being developed as a deep-water port and a logistical platform aimed at relieving pressure on Tanger Med while boosting industrial growth in eastern Morocco. To the south, the Dakhla Atlantic Port project aims to provide the southern provinces with a logistical gateway that opens up trade with West Africa on land. The transportation network has improved with equal speed. The highway network has expanded from less than 100 kilometers in 1999 to over 2,177 kilometers today, directly linking industrial zones to ports and major cities. This places Morocco among the most extensive highway networks in Africa, with a density significantly higher than most sub-Saharan economies, where logistics still rely heavily on single-lane roads. Construction remains ongoing, as the government plans to expand the network to over 3,000 kilometers by 2030. This modernization culminated in the 2018 inauguration of the Al Borak high-speed rail line, which slashed travel time between Tangier and Casablanca from nearly 5 hours to just over 2. By connecting the countries to most vital industrial corridors, Morocco has tangibly reduced obstacles to the movement of labor, goods, and services. The plans do not stop there, as the government has announced an expansion of this line southward toward Marrakesh and reaching Agadir, transforming Al Borak into the backbone of a national transport network that links industrial zones, ports, and population centers in a fast and reliable corridor. Furthermore, this ambition has extended to the skies. The 2030 Airports Plan aims to double the capacity of national airports, supporting tourism, high-value trade, and executive mobility, especially as the country prepares to co-host the 2030 World Cup with Spain and Portugal. Layered atop this physical infrastructure, Morocco's trade frameworks. The country is linked by free trade agreements, FTA letters, with the European Union, the United States, Turkey, and dozens of African and Arab partners. For European companies, manufacturing in Morocco is very much like manufacturing within the EU, but with lower labor costs, faster licensing, and cheaper land. Under the Morocco-EU Association Agreement, most industrial tariffs have been eliminated, meaning a car manufactured in Canada reaches European markets without the barriers faced by producers outside the Union. However, Morocco's greatest advantage is the one it did not build by hand: geography. Only 14 kilometers separated from Spain, a distance close enough for some ferries to cross the Strait of Gibraltar in less than an hour. More than 100,000 ships pass through this strait annually, making it one of the busiest shipping lanes on Earth. From Moroccan ports, direct shipping lines are available to France, Portugal, Spain, Italy, and the United Kingdom, reaching these destinations far faster than is possible from Asia. This location grants Morocco an advantage that most distant competitors simply cannot replicate: short and secure supply chains directed toward Europe. Added to all of this is a level of political stability rarely found in the region. While vast parts of North Africa experienced violent upheavals following the Arab Spring, ranging from revolutions and civil wars to repeated government collapses, Morocco avoided systemic breakdown and maintained political continuity throughout that turbulent era. This stability, coupled with long-term economic policies that did not fluctuate sharply with every new government, has made Morocco exactly what investors crave most: a low-risk environment where factories operate without interruption. Simply put, Morocco is close enough to Europe, more cost-effective, and far removed from the geopolitical risks and lengthy shipping durations associated with Asia. However, amidst all these advantages, there was one obstacle that threatened to stall industrial growth: energy. Factories require more than just cheap labor and good logistics. They need reliable and stable electricity. In much of North Africa, electricity is either unreliable, expensive, or both. For instance, gas-related power outages in Egypt in 2023 hit industrial cities hard, forcing factories to halt production for hours at a time. Morocco addressed this risk early by investing heavily in renewable energy. Over the past decade, it allocated more than $360 million to build massive solar and wind power capacities. The Noor Ouarzazate complex is the clearest symbol of this strategy. An area that was once a vacant desert expanse now houses one of the largest solar power plants in the world. Along the Atlantic coast, massive wind farms have been established to feed directly into the national grid. For manufacturers, this was much more important than mere headlines about green energy. The cost of energy is one of the few variables a manufacturer not easily control once a facility is built. By stabilizing electricity supplies and reducing exposure to fossil fuel price volatility, Morocco eliminated a major source of uncertainty, making long-term commitment and expansion much easier for factories. However, this did not mean spreading investments equally across every sector of the economy. Rather, Morocco attracted them into specific industries where proximity to Europe, low costs, and reliability yield the highest economic returns. The first of these sectors is the automotive industry. Today, Morocco is the second largest car producer in Africa, with an annual assembly exceeding 550,000 vehicles. While it still trails South Africa, the continent's long-standing automotive hub, it is closing the gap at an accelerating pace. Unlike South Africa, which exports about 68% of its production, approximately 80% of Moroccan output is shipped abroad, the vast majority of which goes to European markets. Renault was the first major automaker to commit to this path. Opening its Tangier plant in 2012, it quickly became one of its most efficient facilities worldwide, producing 1 million vehicles within its first years of operation. From there, the snowball effect began. Stellantis built its Kenitra plant in 2019 to produce Peugeot and Opel models for European markets. later expanding it to include electric vehicles like the Citroën Ami, thereby integrating Morocco into its EV supply chain. Dense clusters of suppliers emerged, producing everything from seats and wiring harnesses to dashboards and exhaust systems. In fragmented supply chains, every border crossing or customs delay adds extra cost. Whereas Moroccan zones bypass this complexity entirely, parts are manufactured nearby, assembled nearby, and shipped almost immediately. Furthermore, as wages rise in Europe and even parts of Eastern Europe, Morocco has emerged as one of the most cost-effective locations globally for large-scale automotive assembly. It has proven to be cheaper to assemble cars in Morocco than in Turkey, Romania, or Mexico, countries that have long been the preferred low-cost options. Once Morocco proved its ability to handle complex manufacturing through the automotive sector, a second industry was ready for takeoff: the aerospace sector. This may come as a surprise to many. Yes, Morocco even manufactures aircraft. Aircraft manufacturing is usually associated with wealthy, high-tech economies, but modern aircraft production is highly fragmented. High-value design and final assembly remain in the United States and Europe, while a significant portion of the work depends on precision manufacturing, such as wiring systems, composite components, and fuselage parts. This type of work demands reliability and logistics more than advanced research, which is exactly what Morocco provides. Today, the country is one of the fastest-growing aerospace hubs in the world, with about 150 companies in the sector operating within its borders. Suppliers linked to Boeing and Airbus manufacture structural components and wiring systems. Safran produces engine parts and interior cabins, while companies like Collins Aerospace and Stelia build internal components that are shipped directly to European assembly lines. Moroccan aerospace exports have exceeded $2 billion annually, and the sector is gradually increasing its complexity, moving from basic wiring production to manufacturing high-value-added aviation parts. A third pivotal sector in the Moroccan economy is centered around one of the most strategic resources on Earth: phosphate. This material is essential for two things the global economy cannot function without: food and energy. Phosphorus is a key element in fertilizers, which is extracted from phosphate, and fertilizers support nearly half of global food production. Without phosphorus, crop yields worldwide would collapse. Additionally, phosphate has become a core component in lithium iron phosphate (LFP) batteries, which account for about 30% of the global electric vehicle battery market and are increasingly used by companies like Tesla. The most fascinating aspect is that, unlike oil or gas, there is no substitute for phosphate, nor is there a synthetic alternative. It cannot be manufactured in a lab or replaced by another material. It can only be extracted from where it exists in the earth. Morocco controls approximately 70% of the world's known phosphate reserves, granting it a massive structural advantage that no competitor can replicate. Through the state-owned OCP Group, Morocco has built an entire industrial ecosystem around this resource. Today, OCP is not only the world's largest producer of phosphate fertilizers, but also the largest employer in Morocco, with about 21,000 employees. This makes it a fundamental economic pillar for development, providing stable export revenues and hard currency inflows that grant the state the fiscal space to invest in more complex sectors. In 2022 alone, the group generated revenues of approximately 114.5 billion dirhams, roughly $11.5 billion, accounting for about one-fifth of Morocco's total export earnings. Just as it did in the automotive and aerospace sectors, Morocco concentrated infrastructure, processing capabilities, and logistics into one massive hub. The result is Jorf Lasfar, the colossal industrial complex on the Atlantic coast that has become the world's largest fertilizer production center. Ultimately, this is what Morocco has built: large-scale manufacturing in close proximity to Europe, powered by expanding renewable energy and anchored by a firm grip on a vital resource that underpins global food security. Yet, the most important takeaway from the entire Moroccan experience is this: economic success is not achieved by waiting for opportunities, but by creating the conditions that draw those opportunities to you. Morocco did not wait for the world to choose it. It made itself a choice that is difficult to ignore. It built the ports before the cargo arrived, trained the workforce before the factories opened, and paved the roads before the investments flowed. What do you think of the path Morocco has taken? And which country do you wish would follow this trajectory? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We have now reached the end of the video. Thank you for watching.